this is going to be a short video about what is an energy vampire or vampire. Often I will spell it, and I've seen others spell it Vampyre to separate from like fictional vampires or vampires that you would associate as I want to suck your blood sort of thing. Because it's a different sort of thing. And I once did a rabbit hole of research about it, and it really, if you think about it, even the old-time vampires could, like, your blood, your life force, that's what it is, was considered, like, energy is your life force, so it really could have been a misinterpretation, and not actually been blood, but been those that feed and prey on the energy of other people, right? Which definitely does happen. I know, like, even non-empathic people have experienced that. In any case, I've had a few different opinions and experiences of what an energy vampire is. I think that I've run into, I'm going to say, two main sorts. There's the unconscious energy vampires, and then there's conscious energy vampires. And a lot of times they will often get pegged as narcissistic. The unconscious ones would be more of like a covert narcissist who isn't aware that they're being like that. And that kind of interlinks into victim zombies. Like, usually they feel very put upon. They often blame other people for their problems. They will try to get everybody else to like really they try to suck them into their story, and get them to care for them and to take care of them. They're very stuck in that. But I think the difference between like a unconscious energy vampire and or covert narcissist and like a victim zombie is that often a vampire, an unconscious vampire, will be much more, I want to say they're much more boisterous about being able to care for themselves. Like, very like, well, I can do this, or well, I'll kick somebody's butt, or look at these things that I do. They kind of waffle between the like toxic independence and codependence, and they go between like a sweetness and a victimhood state. And then with like a conscious energy vampire, and some of these individuals, well, let's say most of them are creepy. Because they often realize that they feed on other people, but they have justified that it's acceptable. Now, I've only ever met like maybe two that I could somewhat empathize with, and they were consensual in it. Like, they made sure that people knew, and they tended to feed on energies that were no longer necessary, or that were that would be considered negative or hurtful to other people. And they had their seasons of not being very nice people, but they went out of their way, they go out of their way now to make sure that they are asking people if they are comfortable with that sort of arrangement. It's very Cullen's Twilight sort of thing. Like, are you okay with this? Do you want to do this? Okay. Now, most of the rest of them that I've met that are very conscious are more overt narcissists. Like, they realize that they're fucking with people's energy. They realize that they feed off of it and they like it. And they will intentionally like fuck things up for people and keep them around, whereas like an unconscious vampire or a covert narcissist often isn't aware that they're hurting people, and they lack a certain amount of empathy to be able to recognize it, because they lack self-love that is needed to like refill and replenish their own energy. And so all, like, for them it feels like a survival thing. And so they go from person to person until they're just drained and they're gone. And like, I mean, that person could have been the brightest light ever, and even filled them for long amounts of time. It depends really on how deep an unconscious vampire is, because if they're super deep in it, I mean, they can drain people super fast. Like, I mean, you can look at the typical uh, behaviors of a narcissist, which often, like, let's say your everyday typical narcissist, usually they're, the way that they'll hook you into, say, a dynamic with them or a relationship with them would probably take more a natural tone. It might take a few months of dating, and you're enjoying like honeymoon stuff, and then they want to move in, and it moves really, really fast. Whereas like with an energy vampire, especially like a super deep, unconscious one, it'll be like you jump from like one relationship to the next, and like at first it seems like a whirlwind. There's a lot of love bombing in there, and they get their hooks in you, and it creates a certain sort of confusion. Like especially if you're either healing from your own prior vampiric nature, or from codependence, or if you are an empath who is on an uptick, they will get into you and cause all sorts of confusion. A lot of it's spirit coming in to teach you your own amount of self-love. Like when we encounter people like this, that it is lessons in self-love. And but they will hook in, and I mean, it could be like you might end up in a sort of situation that either you've never ended up in before, or it might be a repeat of old things that you've been in. But it, like, one of the key indicators is whether they become a friend or whether they become a lover. Like it's way faster than it should be, and they will go through and drain people way faster than others. I mean, whether that's within a few weeks or within a few months or within like a year. Like these people often will not have relationships that really last all that long, and they tend to hold on to the people that they've discarded, as little bits of energy source. They might go back and forth between them if they don't find a new source, or often you'll see that they'll jump back and forth with exes and things like that. And usually, I mean, like, in difference, like a conscious energy vampire, usually they've been through some hard stuff in life, but I usually consider them actually to be kind of younger souls. Like, a lot of them aren't aware. Like, they're aware of what they're doing, but they're not, as far as I see it, spirit, to the universe, there are no bad experiences. So their souls came in and thought that they would try this out. It's not nice. It's not cool. It's not ethical, in my opinion. I don't like that. And I will teach people skills and abilities to protect from both conscious and unconscious vampires. But I want to say that they don't usually go through such a shattering experience. They're kind of just beings from another dimension. Let's put it that way. And with unconscious vampires, they're much more, they've been hurt. They've been hurt really bad. And it's the saying, hurt people, and because they were hurt, and they hit a point that the empaths do too. Like an energy vampire is an empath. An empath is an energy vampire, but the difference is, like, did they get stuck in the pain and hold on to it, or did you move away from the pain and the healing and go towards love? Like, that's really what makes the difference. That's why at almost any time you can switch between either or, and it's good to be trained in both so that you can prevent yourself from accidentally feeding off of others, and to protect yourself from those feeding off of you. But either way, it tends to be the same thing, and just like as an empath is a clairsentient, so is an energy vampire. They can sense and feel your feelings. Like, you might, in fact, notice that when you're with one, they often call you on shit that they really shouldn't have had any business knowing about, but it's usually, rather than it being like in a good thing, like reading your mind, reading your feelings romantically, they'll read your feelings in an intrusive way, but it's usually possessive. It's like, you're thinking about your ex, aren't you? Or you're thinking about leaving, or you're thinking about, like, there's something you're not telling me and I need to know about it. I mean, shoot, even I've been caught in moments like that, to where I will sense that people are lying. It drives me nuts. Like, why are you lying? What are you hiding from me? And I had to work on a large amount of my own insecurities to even be like, you know, what am I even bothered about with people hiding things? Like, if they feel like they need to hide it, that's their thing to need to heal from for a while. And like, if I stay in my loving Empress state and I don't worry myself with it, they'll come around. But somebody that is in a really low vibration and in an unevolved state who went to the pain place that's stuck in their pain body is not going to really be able to hold themselves back from like just a constant attack, because they don't know how to filter out your feelings, and they don't know how to filter their own feelings. All they know is that they know what they feel, and then they call you on it, and usually it's either a surprise, or they even if you weren't exactly thinking that, maybe they picked up on it from earlier, they put you right back into a place that you were probably trying to heal from, and bring it right back into that energy. Now, I'm going to end this video fairly soon because it's past 10 minutes and I tend to lose memory in my phone after that. But just as a brief thing, you know, if you are in an entanglement with an energy vampire, either conscious or unconscious, the first thing to recognize is that it's not that you have earned that, or that you're unlucky, or like, you know, even if you're the energy vampire, it's not that this isn't a punishment. It's lessons, it's karmic lessons, and it's self-love. So both of you, whoever's in the entanglement, like, that's involved, learn self-love. And watch my videos. I'll show you how to get there, and how to start from a kind of an exterior energetic position that allows you to get to that state. But you have to do the work on self-love, and I'll explain some stuff on that. But like, you gotta get to that point and recognize you are not a victim. If you stay in victim mode, you are an energy vampire. If you blame other people, if you feel like you're trapped or hopeless or beholden to what other people think or want or do, you are the vampire. And that's not necessarily bad or good, but if you don't want to live a life of pain and misery and hurt the people that you care about, self-love. That's the bigger reason. Alright, y'all. I'll do another video in probably about 20 minutes.